We are here. Welcome, welcome, folks. Another day. We are on the 8th day of the second decade of the month. And very happy to be here. We got 2 more days of the second decade of the month, which focuses on how we blend and harmonize and find justice and balance of things in our space and place. And then we move on to the third decade of creation and understanding and expression. So I really like how we've been spending this month of 7. It's been really dope. Definitely in divine alignment. I find us finishing up this first level, this grade 1 level of Brandon's course by like this Saturday, the latest. Maybe Sunday, because I don't know if we'll be here Saturday. I have some things to do. But yeah, but definitely by this weekend, the latest, which is cool because we'll be finished the second deck of the month and we'll be ready to start really understanding and expressing and implementing the things we learn into our space. So, I guess, I had somebody come through and talk about the Sesta KV Trust a little bit on my Facebook page. So I just wanted to, I guess get a little gist of it with you guys. And then we're going to get into UCC Article 3. So the Sesta KV definition, history, and what it means for a trust. This is on investopedia.com. This being a Sesta KV, the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy. We already know we're dealing with trust law in this realm. This is French for he who lives. It is a legal term for an individual who is the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy with rights to property and the income and profits of the property provides. Oh, that might be can that be the next name of my next EP? Sesta KV?
I don't even know what language that is. Though.
It's French. And then all my songs could be about being alive. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, we're going. It's sounding good. Okay, Sesta KV is French for he who lives. It is a legal term for an individual who is the beneficiary of a trust or an insurance policy with rights to property and the income and profits to that property that property provides. A Sesta KV trust is the person entitled to an equitable rather than legal trust in the estate assets. And we got into that a little bit when we got into security investments or something like that. I don't know the exact term. My bad. But I know what I'm saying in my head. Anyway, the concept is also used in modern life and health insurance policies where Sesta KV is an individual whose life measures the duration of the insurance contract. In these contracts, Sesta KV is known as the policy holder, insured, or policy owner. Thus, while the term refers to the beneficiary of a trust or estate, often relates to the insured and not the beneficiary of an insurance policy. So key takeaways. In French, Sesta KV means he who lives. The legal term describes the person who is the beneficiary and has rights to the property in an estate. Sesta KV is often used today in life and health insurance policies where instead of the beneficiary, it refers to the insured, which is kind of like the beneficiary if you're the insured because you're sitting in all the benefits of the insurance. So I don't know. Anyway. History of Sesta KV. Sesta KV is a legal concept that dates back to medieval periods, specifically England. And during this time, the owners of farms and other properties could be absent for extended periods of time as they traveled, whether for business or religious purposes. It became important to ensure that family members, business partners, or tenants could use the property without fear of it being expropriated by feudal lords, those damn landlords. While the individual was away, a trustee took care of the land, but did not retain legal ownership over the property. Again, while the individual, and the individual is what? A person, right? A citizen is also a person.
Corporate entity.
Yeah. So while the individual was away, a trustee took care of the land, the trustee, right? And right now they have us as a trustee until we tell them that we are alive and we can become the beneficiary. But we're not supposed to be the trustee. A trustee took care of the land, but did not retain legal ownership over the property. So while they have us as the trustee, we're not supposed to be the trustee. So that's why we don't have legal ownership. They did a little catch-22 with all these subcontracts. The trust often relied on good faith, which it's kind of not right now because niggas is lying. But now it's like lies under ignorance for the most part. But the trust often relied on good faith understanding between the parties. Okay. In practice, it was often a way to avoid paying taxes by granting land and property to the church, which was exempt from taxation while still allowing descendants to reside in and enjoy the estates. Henry VIII, under his advisors Thomas Cromwell and Thomas More, attempted to invalidate Cestui Que Vie Trust, a process that continued under the English Reformation. In 1666, the year the British government enacted the Cestui Que Vie Act, Cestui Que Vie is now part of modern law. Later, however, after the Great Plague of 1665 and the Great Fire of 1666 had destroyed London, the British government enacted the Cestui Que Vie Act in 1666, which reinstated the legal concept. After those twin catastrophes, hundreds of thousands of British citizens died or fled. In response, the government took all the private property into the trust until the proper heirs or owners could be identified. Again, in response to those catastrophes, the government took all the private property into the trust until the proper heirs or owners could be identified. The he who lives. Now, how many people knew about that? To tell the government that they're alive.
No one really.
Some parts of the 1666 Act are still in law in the United Kingdom. The legal concepts behind Cestui Que Vie changed a bit over centuries in order to reduce fraud and to ensure that property owners couldn't shift their property into trust in order to dodge creditors. More recently, laws against property held in perpetuity required that parties named as the beneficiaries in the trust should vest and thus have an interest in the trust rather than passively receive the benefits. Okay, so when a trust is created, it is done for the benefit of a specific individual who is identified in the trust document. In a trust, the Cestui Que Vie trust is the person, we know what a person is, who has an equitable interest in the trust. Well, what is an equitable interest? Let's find out, because I don't know what that is.
I thought it would be like a negotiated benefit.
In law, an equitable interest is a right or interest in property. Here we go, using the word in the definition, or interest in property that is based on equitable ground. Again, oh gosh, you guys kill me with this shit.
I mean, it's an AI definition. You're not getting it from like a written source.
Well, let's go to lawpath.com. Equity. So equitable interest arises when there is an interest in the property, but no legal title exists. However, this title is not true ownership. And ordinarily, this type of interest can be overridden by legal ownership. The only way an equitable interest can be enforced is by the court. So when someone shows interest in something, but there's no legal title. So let's look up the word interest, as we like to utilize the word in a damn definition. The state of wanting to know or learn about something or someone, money paid regularly at a particular rate, or for the use of money lent, or for delaying the repayment of a debt. Let's go to Black's Law Dictionary. I forgot. I be forgetting I have it there. So we can go let's see if they have equitable interest. Let's go up to
They have a letter I. I-N.
Yeah, we can go to interest too. But let's see if they have equitable interest first. Easement. We're getting there. We're getting close. Execution. Stop it, Scooby.
Exemption.
A lot of EX words, y'all. Exclusive. Exchange. We're getting there. Excess. Exceptio.
What?
Eliamis. Scooby, please stop. Why do I have to get irate for you to listen?
Estoppel.
Escape. Oh, okay. And so now we're around equity and equivalent.
I'd say it's the next page up.
Yeah. Equity jurisprudence. Equity jurisdiction. Equitable rights. A lot of equity.
Equity down.
I saw equity, but I wanted to know if they had equitable interest. I see all the other equitables. Here's the word equitable. Just, conformable to the principles of justice and right, just, fair, and right in consideration of the facts and circumstances of an individual case, existing in equity, available upon sustainable only in equity or only upon rules and principles of equity, as the fair and equitable value, see title, equitable action, equitable assignment, equitable conversion, equitable estoppel, equitable execution, equitable liens. Oh, here you go. Equitable rate of interest. That's close, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in England, the interest, generally at a lower rate than legal, charged against a trustee or executor improperly or unnecessarily, keeping balances or portions of trust monies in his hand.
I thought there was another word for this. We did this yesterday about paying somebody lesser than the original price.
Oh, security interest. Hello, godson. We are talking about the UC code. The name of the live as well. Yeah, it's the Knowledge Keepers Club. So, yeah, I know once upon a time they were like buying land for like $5 and shit like that. And they actually still do that sometimes. Like you can buy land for like a couple dollars if you know who to talk to and how to talk about it. But yeah, all right. So when a trust is created, it is done for the benefit of a specific individual who is identified in the trust document. In a trust, a Sesta KV trust is the person who has equitable interest in the trust. The legal title of the trust, however, is given to the trustee, which somehow, some way, we became the trustees, but we are not the trustees. Sesta K use, or he who uses, is the person for whose benefit the trust is made. During the medieval period, Sesta K use arrangements became so common that they were often assumed to be present even when they had not been arranged. Interesting. So that is the history and definition of the Sesta KV Trust. We got into equitable interest. Let's talk about this a little bit. So, remove outdated Sesta KV Act 1666 and assume people are alive and not dead. During the Black Plague and the Great Fires in London, Parliament enacted Sesta KV Act of 1666. I want the government to acknowledge that the people born in the UK are living natural entities until their real death under God, and do this by revoking the outdated act. Why was this petition? This petition was actually rejected, and it was submitted in 2022. That's the wild part. So it's not clear what the petition is asking the UK government or parliament to do. Petitions need to call on the government or parliament to say we were not sure exactly what you'd like the government or parliament to do. The presumption of death in the UK is governed by the presumption of the Death Act of 2013. We could accept a petition calling for changes to how this legislation works, but it would need to be clear what changes you want. So somebody did not do their petition clearly, so it was submitted in 2022. That is very interesting. So this is all new shit, and there's a lot of people trying to do shit with it. So the Presumption of Death Act 2013, which is called the PDA 2013, I like the acronym, is a UK law that allows the High Court to declare a missing person presumed dead if there is not enough evidence to prove their death. The act came into effect October 1st, 2014. So they just call the Sesta KV Act under a different name. The PDA Act came into force on October of 2014, of course, during Scorpio season. It provides a simple route for the High Court to make a declaration of a presumed death, specifically set out in the Civil Procedure Rules Practice Direction 57B. Presumption of death, that's kind of wild. That's kind of wild. But yeah, so that stuff still applies. A lot of the businesses over here are, rooted in the UK, and that's why we were going over that. So now let's get it back into the UCC, the UC codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes. We went over UC 1s, we went over UC 2 and 2A. So we went over the general provisions, we went over the definitions, we went over the things on sales. Thank you for the follow, Godson. And we went over, oh, you're handsome. And we went over the leases, how the leasee and the leaseor are supposed to be set up, which was very interesting because we have been kind of duped into believing that we are the leasor. No, the leasee. We have been treated like the leasee, but we're actually the leasor because this is our land. But because of the Cesta KV Trust and the PDA Act, I guess, which is still utilizing insurances. So if you have any type of insurance, whether it's car insurance, health insurance, which we're all kind of mandated to have at this point, you are in alignment with the Cesta KV Act. You're dead.
You're presumed dead.
You're presumed dead if you have insurance. So it's by design that they have mandated insurance policies, especially car insurance is very much heavily mandated.
And when
so there is a trust in that.
Then you're in the contract, it goes to whoever you choose the benefit to go to, and that would go to the company, the person entity, the other side of the contract.
Right. And that's why we need to come out just with like your own trust and not like these pre-made trusts of car insurance and all that. Like you can have your own trust and insure your own vehicle through your trust.
It gives another perspective of why they would usually why the government would also come for your children when the leaseor dies, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you told me in medieval times, they would act upon giving the children ownership of the land as well as the property until the said leaseor came back from their travel, since they usually took like weeks time.
Absolutely. So you do a birth certificate and all that stuff, you kind of sign your kids away anyway, because the certificate and the registration of your child is giving away the rights to even say that's your child. And we do that multiple times in these subcontracts with public school. Have you signed any contracts with these doctors, prior to allowing your child to be seen? Health insurances. If you went through family court in some type of way, shape, or form, you've also, it's a lot of subcontracts that you've given up your rights to be a parent to your child. That's a heavy thing. I try to stay out of the child courts, but the child courts don't want to stay out of me. So now we're going to get in UCC Article 3, negotiable instruments. This is a part that a lot of people like to get into because everybody wants to know how to do the money part and the free stuff and all that stuff like that. So we finna get started. Ooh, so the Article 3 has a lot of parts, so we're not going to get through all these parts today. We're just not. We'll see how long these things are. So let's start with 3-101, which is short title. This article may be cited as as Uniform Commercial Code negotiable instruments. 3-102, subject matter. A. This article applies to negotiable instruments. It does not apply to money, to payment orders governed by Article 4A, or to securities governed by Article 8. We didn't get there yet. B, if there is a conflict between this article and Article 4 or 9, Articles 4 and 9 govern. So we'll get into Articles 4 later. C, regulations of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and operating circulars of the Federal Reserve Banks supersede any inconsistent provision of this article to the extent of the inconsistency. So whoever regulates this, if it's not in alignment with the Federal Reserve System or the Federal Reserve Banks want, they trump over this. Count Monte Cristo, hey A. Acceptor. Now we got definitions on 3-103. Acceptor means a drawee who has accepted a draft. Consumer account means an account established by an individual primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. 3. Consumer transaction. That means a transaction in which an individual incurs an obligation primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. Drawee means a person ordered in a draft to make a payment. Drawer is the person who signs or is identified in a draft as a person ordering the payment. Now, don't forget, we know what person is. We know what a person is. We know what an individual is. It's not a human being. It's a corporation. We established that already, but I like to emphasize every episode. Anyway, 7 is maker. This means a person who signs or is identified in a note as a person undertaking to pay. Order means a written instruction to pay money signed by the person giving the instruction. The instruction may be addressed to any person, including the person giving the instruction, or to one or more persons jointly, or in the alternative, but not in succession. An authorization to pay is not an order unless the person authorized to pay is also instructed to pay. That's a big one. Ordinary care. In the case of a person engaged in business means observance of reasonable commercial standards prevailing in the area in which the person is located with respect to the business in which the person is engaged. In the case of a bank that takes an instrument for processing for collection or payment by automatic means, reasonable commercial standards do not require the bank to examine the instrument if the failure to examine does not violate the bank's prescribed procedures and the bank's procedures do not vary unreasonably from general banking usage not approved by this article or Article 4. So ordinary care. In the case of a person engaged in business means observance of reasonable commercial standards prevailing in the area in which the person is located with respect to the business in which the person is engaged. In the case of a bank that takes an instrument for processing for collection or payment by automatic means, reasonable commercial standards do not require the bank to examine the instrument if the failure to examine does not violate the bank's prescribed procedures. Okay, cool. Party means a party to an instrument. Principal obliger, with respect to an instrument, means the accommodated party or any other party to the instrument against whom a secondary obliger has recourse under this article. 12. Promise means a written undertaking to pay money signed by the person undertaking to pay. An acknowledgement of an obligation by the obliger is not a promise unless the obliger also undertakes to pay the obligation. Promise. We did promise, right? Yeah. Proof. With respect to a fact means to meet the burden of establishing the fact. Remitter means a person who purchases an instrument from its issuer if the instrument is payable to an identified person other than the purchaser. So you have like the letter of remittance, which goes in alignment with the payment and all those things. Remotely created consumer item means an item drawn on a consumer account, which is not created by the payer bank and does not bear a handwritten signature purporting to be the signature of the drawer. And secondary obliger, with respect to the instrument, means A, an endorser or accommodation party, B, a drawer having an obligation described in section 3-414, which we'll get into, or C, any other party to the instrument that has a recourse against another party in the instrument pursuant to section 3-116. So other definitions applying to this article and sections which they appear are acceptance, accommodated party, accommodation party, account, alteration, anomalous endorsement, bank endorsement, cashier's check, certificate of deposit, certified check, consideration, draft, Holder in due course, incomplete instrument, endorsement, endorser, instruments, issue, issuer, negotiable instruments, negotiation, note, payable at definite time, payable on demand, payable to bearer, payable to order, payment, person entitled to enforce, reacquisition, presentment, special endorsement, teller's check, transfer of instrument, traveler's check, and value. The following definitions and other articles apply to this article. So now we're getting into the article 4. Banking day, clearinghouse, collecting bank, depository blank, documentary, draft, intermediary bank, item, payer bank, suspends payments. And I would suggest looking up those words on the Black Law Dictionary. That would do well for you. So let's get into negotiable instrument 3-104. Except as provided in subsection C and D, negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charges described in the promise of or order if it, now these are the conditions. It's the only way that's going to be a negotiable instrument under these conditions, okay? It has to be payable to the bearer or to order at the same time it is issued or first comes into possession of the holder. It has to be payable on demand or at a definite time. And it does not state any other undertaking or instruction by the person promising or ordering payment to do any act in addition to the payment of the money. But the promise or order may contain an understanding or power to give, maintain, or protect collateral to secure payment. 2, an authorization or power to the holder to confess judgment or to realize or dispose of collateral. And 3, a waiver of the benefit of any law intended for the advantage or protection of an obliger. Instrument means negotiable instrument. An order that meets all of the requirements of subsection A, which is except paragraph 1 and otherwise falls within the definition of a check. That is a negotiable instrument. A promise or order other than a check is not an instrument if at the same time it is issued or first comes into possession of holder. It contains a conspicuous statement, however, expressed to the effect that the promise or order is not negotiable or is not an instrument governed by this article. An instrument is a note. If it is a promise and is a draft, if it is an order, if an instrument falls within the definition of both note and draft, a person entitled to enforce the instrument may treat it as either. Check means 1, a draft, and let's find out what draft means because this is the second time that we saw the word draft. So let's go to draft. We can go to draft in the Black's Law Dictionary. Let's go up to D. We went too far. Oh my goodness. And I'm using the 4th edition, which you can find on the internet. And I would just say put it on an external hard drive because I don't know how long this. If everybody keeps using this shit, I don't know how long it's gonna be up here. Listen, I'm just trying to get to the letter D. What the hell? I need this book printed and binded because I really don't like internet books. I ain't gonna hold it. Okay, here we go. We made it to D. Makes you want to stop.
They did give us a warning about the dictionary.
Just take.
And you said this is only the 4th. Isn't there like 13?
Yeah, so like that. Okay, we got the DR. Now I need DRA because I went too far. Okay, we're at dramatic composition. Dram. Draconian laws. Ooh,
Really?
let's just sidebar. Draconian laws, a code of laws prepared by Draco, the celebrated lawgiver of Athens. These laws were exceedingly severe, and the term is now sometimes applied to any laws of unusual harshness. Interesting.
I'll put a pin in that.
Draco Regis, the standard ensign or military colors borne in war by the ancient kings of England, having the figure of a dragon painted thereon. Oh, there we go, draft. The common term for a bill of exchange as being drawn by one person on another. Okay, so it was a simple definition, but I still wanted to read it. In order for the payment of money drawn by one person on another, it is said to be a nomen generalissimum. I don't know, that's Latin, and to include all such orders. And that's Wilson versus Bacall. A tentative, provisional, or preparatory writing out of any document as a will, contract, lease, etc., for purposes of discussion and correction, which is afterwards to be copied out in its final shape. Also, a small arbitrary deduction or allowance made to the merchant or importer in the case of goods sold by weight or taxable by weight to cover possible loss of weight in handling or from difference in scales. A draft in the stockyard parlance. Yeah, all that. Anyway, so let's go back. We know what a draft is now. So check means a draft other than a documentary draft, payable on demand and drawn on a bank or a cashier's check, a teller's check. An instrument may be checked even though it is described on its face by another term such as money order. All right. Cashier's check. That's also a draft with respect to which the drawer and drawee are the same bank or branches of the same bank. That's interesting. Teller's check means a draft drawn by a bank on another bank, payable or at or through a bank. So that's bank to bank business. Traveler's check. It means an instrument that one is payable on demand, two is drawn on or payable through a bank, three is designated by the term traveler's check or by substantially similar terms, and four requires as a condition to payment a counter signature by a person whose specimen signature appears on the instrument. And then certificate of deposit means an instrument containing an acknowledgement by a bank that a sum of money has been received by the bank and a promise by the bank to repay that sum of money. A certificate of deposit is a note of the bank. That's a big one.
Couldn't a traveler's check be given to you instead of a cash up front when you're working?
Well, yeah. Actually, the dollar that we use right now is just a note. So we already went through note, right? We talked about note.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and the instrument is a note.
And there's also a draft.
If it is a promise and is a draft, so note doesn't always have to be a draft, but it could be both. We could look up the definition of note because the Federal Reserve dollar is a federal debt note. Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling great. Thank you, Alexandria. How are you feeling, beloved?
Note definition. Please don't let it be AI again.
I mean, if it is, we'll just go back to a written unconditional promise to pay the bearer or another party named therein a certain sum of money at a time specified. Generally, the promissory note also contains the terms of payment, including interest rate, grace period, maturity date, or a provision indicating the promissory note is payable on demand. The promissory note may also indicate that it is secured by mortgage and specify the penalties for default. Now, when we were doing the course yesterday, Brandon got heavy into looking at the different notes. So I would go there if you need to go there to yesterday's video. And that's on YouTube for all my people in the background. Hello, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're happy. You seem happy. Issue of an instrument, 3-105. Issue means the first delivery of an instrument by the maker or drawer, whether to a holder or non-holder, for the purpose of giving rights on the instrument to any person. B, an unissued instrument or unissued incomplete instrument that is completed is binding on the maker or drawer, but a non-issuance is a defense. An instrument that is conditionally issued or is issued for a special purpose is binding to the maker or drawer, but failure of the condition or special purpose to be fulfilled is a defense. Issuer. This applies to the issued and unissued instruments, and it means the maker. So if you're the maker or the drawer of the negotiable instrument, you are indeed the issuer, and you have created a issue, which is the instrument. Okay, that's what that means in a nutshell. They just like do all this talking in circles and fluff and blah blah blah, and it's a lot of it is to confuse you and make you not even want to do this shit for real, and that's the goal. It's like if I talk in enough circles, you're not even gonna want to give a fuck. Anyway, 3-106. This is unconditional promise or order. So except as provided in this section, for the purpose of section 3-104, a promise or order is unconditional unless it states an express condition to the payment. So that's the F then. Like, I'll pay it, but you got to da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? That is the condition statement. Okay. Or that the promise or order is subject or governed by another record, that rights or obligations with respect to the promise or order are stated in another record. A reference to another record does not of itself make the promise or order conditional. A promise or order is not made conditional by a reference to another record for a statement of rights with respect to collateral, prepayment, or acceleration. So just because you put a bunch of UC codes and court cases and all of that, unless you put an actual conditional statement, it is not a conditional promise or order. Okay. You have to, it's basically telling you how to draft up a conditional order. Because payment is limited to resort to a particular fund or source. C, if a promise or order requires as a condition of payment to counter signature by a person whose specimen signature appears on the promise or order, the condition does not make the promise or order conditional for the purpose of section 3-104A. If the person whose specimen signature appears on an instrument fails to countersign the instrument, the failure to countersign is a defense to the obligation of the issuer. But the failure does not prevent a transferee of the instrument from becoming a holder of the instrument. All right. So if a promise or order requires, as a part of the condition to payment, a counter signature. So, if you sign a conditional agreement, you send a conditional agreement affidavit in saying, hey, I got your bill. If you can show me proof of a meeting of minds, right? Because you need a meeting of minds. You need two corporations or two humans' signature, right? Corporations can't really sign anything.
Because they're not people.
Right. So if I sign that conditional, John, and I send it to you, and if you fail to countersign the instrument, if you fail to give it back to me, or you fail to provide me with with response to the conditional statement that I gave you, then you're basically saying, now you become the holder. Now you have the instrument. You took my note. You took my order. So now you have to do what you got to do with it. You know what I'm saying? Give me my note back.
They've fallen from the affidavit.
Right. You fell for it.
Well,
Gotcha. If a promise or order at the time it is issued or first comes into possession of a holder contains a statement required by the applicable statutory or administrative law to the effect that the rights of a holder or transferee are subject to claims or defenses that the issuer could assert against the original payee, the promise or order is not thereby made conditional for the purposes of Section 3-104A, which we went over. But if the promise or order is an instrument, there cannot be a holder in due course of the instrument. Well, what does that mean? Holder in due course. A holder in due course. This is from 3-302 in the UC code. Subject to subsection C in section 3-106, which is what we just read. Holder in due course means the holder of an instrument if, one, the instrument when issued or negotiated to the holder does not bear such apparent evidence of forgery or altercation, or is not otherwise so irregular or incomplete as to call into question its authenticity. All right. And then the holder took the instrument for value. Like, you took it. In good faith, you took it. Without notice that the instrument is overdue or has been dishonored, or that there is an uncured default with respect to payment or another instrument issued as a part of the same series. Without notice that the instrument contains an unauthorized signature or has been altered. Without notice of any claim to the instrument described in Section 3-306, and without notice that any party has a defense or a claim in recoupment described in Section 3-305. So if I give you this conditional statement and you take it, if I give you this conditional statement and you take it and you don't give it back to me, you basically accepted what I've given you, and now you're the holder. You have the note, you have the promise, you have the order, or whatever you want to call it. You have the instrument, so you got to get the fuck on, right? So 3-107, instrument payable in foreign money. Ooh. Unless the instrument otherwise provides, an instrument that states the amount payable in foreign money may be paid in the foreign money or in an equivalent amount in dollars calculated by using the current bank offered spot rate at the place of payment for the purchase of dollars on the day on which the instrument is paid. So you don't have to always, like if we're in the US, you don't have to use US dollars. You can pay it in something else, just make sure it's equivalent. 3-108, payable on demand or at definite time. Oh, and that also applies for my currency creators out there too. Can you read this one for me, Zeke?
okay. Payable on demand or at definite time. A promise or order is payable on demand if it, 1, yeah, I got it right. It's just numerals. Yeah. 1, state that it is payable on demand or at sight, or otherwise indicates that it is payable at the will of the holder. Or 2, does not state any time of payment. B, a promise or order is payable at a definite time if it is payable on a lapse of a definite period of time after sight or acceptance, or at a fixed date or dates at a time or times readily ascertainable at the time the promise or order is issued, subject to rights of 1, prepayment, 2, acceleration, 3, extension at the option of the holder, or 4, extension to a further definite time at the option of the maker or acceptor, or automatically upon or after a specified act or event. C, if an instrument payable at a fixed date is also payable upon demand made before the fixed date. The instrument is payable on demand until the fixed date, and if demand for payment is not made before that date, becomes payable at a definite time on the fixed date.
This is basically saying when somebody sends you something, they'll tell you what date to pay it, right? You can pay it before that day, or you can pay it on that day, or you can pay it. You have the right to prepay something before it's due. You have the right to accelerate the payment date if you want. You also have the right to extend. If the holder,
so like explain yourself.
If you speak to the holder, you have the right to extend, when to pay it. But that's an agreement between you and them. And then extension to further definite time at the option of the maker or acceptor.
You said last time you can also bargain after the fact too if you don't pay it,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you can do with creditors. Well, if I'm saying the term correctly, for people you talk to for credit.
People do it all the time. It's called forbearance. People call your cell phone company and say, "Hey, I'm running on tough times. I don't get paid till next Friday. I saw the bill was due this Friday. You guys gonna cut me off? Please, can I get an extension?" That's basically what this is about. And then they'll do their little things on the computer and pretend like it's such a difficult task to give you an extension, and they're being so nice to you. And then they give you the fucking extension. You can do this with your electric bill. You can do this with your gas bill. You can do this with a lot of bills. You might even be able to do it with your landlord. I think the landlord automatically gives you like a extended date on the lease already. So be careful with that. That is also a negotiable contract. You can negotiate that if that date doesn't work for you. If you already know that your next paycheck always falls after that date, negotiate that with your landlord ahead of time before you start signing shit. All right. 3-109, payable to bearer or order. Can you read this one for me too?
1 states that it is payable to bearer or.
Well, let's start at A.
Oh.
Right here.
Oh, did not see that. That's way too small.
I know.
A promise or order is payable to bearer if it 1 states that it is payable to bearer or to the order of the bearer, or otherwise indicates that the person in possession of the promise or order is entitled to payment. 2 does not state a payee, or 3 states that it is payable to or to the order of cash, or otherwise indicates that it is not payable to an identified person. B, a promise or order that is not payable to bearer is payable to order if it is payable, 1, to the order of an identified person, or 2, to an identified person or order. A promise or order that is payable to order is payable to the identified person. They say order way too much.
Mm-hmm.
C, an instrument payable to bearer may become payable to an identified person if it is specially endorsed pursuant to section 3205A. An instrument payable to an identified person may become payable to bearer if it is endorsed in blank pursuant to section 3205B.
So a promise or order is payable to the bearer, and these are all the terms and conditions that makes it payable to the bearer. Okay, which is the person you're giving it to. It doesn't have to state a payee. It states that it's payable to the bearer. So like you think about like with all the elements that you see on a check where it says like paid to the order of woo wop wop wop, and then it has, the address and all that, the space where you're getting it from. Cashier checks too, they're set up like this. You look at all the blank spaces. This is basically all the terms and conditions for something to be a promise or order that is payable. Okay. It has to be paid to an identified person. A person is not a human, is an individual, corporation, all that stuff like that. An instrument is payable to the bearer may become payable to an identified person, to the actual one person. If it is specifically endorsed, which is signing on the back of it. An instrument payable to identified person may become payable to the bearer if it's endorsed in blank. Okay. Identification of person to whom a instrument is payable. The person to whom an instrument is initially payable is determined by the intent of the person, whether or not authorized, signing as or in the name or behalf of the issuer of the instrument. The instrument is payable to the person intended by the signer, even if that person is identified in the instrument, by a name or other identification that is not that of the intended person. If more than one person signs in the name or behalf of the issuer of an instrument, and all the signers do not intend the same person as the payee, the instrument is payable to any person intended by one or more of the signers. Okay. If the signature of the issuer of the instrument is made by automatic means, such as a check writing machine, the payee of the instrument is determined by the intent of the person who supplied the name or identification of the payee, whether or not authorized to do so. So that's like the electronic payments, electronic signatures on stuff. And, once you receive that, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I've received this. It's basically endorsed. Same energy if you were physically signing something. A person to whom an instrument is payable may be identified in any way, including by name, identifying number, office, or account number. For the purpose of determining the holder of an instrument, the following rules apply. So this is what we're going to do to determine the holder of an instrument. If an instrument is payable to an account and the account is identified only by a number, the instrument is payable to the person to whom the account is payable. If an instrument is payable to an account identified by a number and by the name of a person, the instrument is payable to the named person. Whether or not that person is the owner of the account can be identified by the number, right? When you have an account number on your whatever account, you have whatever company you're working with. If an instrument is payable to a trust, estate, or a person described as a trustee or representative of a trust or estate, the instrument is payable to the trustee, the representative, or a successor of either, whether or not the beneficiary or estate is also named, which we have had thank you, Slugger. So we have had, been duped out of being the beneficiary of the trust. And so that's why when you sign your name, and we'll get into the signature real heavy later on in the game, when you sign your name, you have to make sure that you write the word beneficiary after you sign your name. Because you have to let them know that you're the beneficiary and they are the trustee.
And it has to be handwritten, and it can't be all caps.
Otherwise, they're just going to assume that you're the trustee and they're the beneficiary, and they're going to move like that. And no, that's not what we're doing anymore. A person described as agent or similar representative of a name or identified person. The instrument is payable to the represented person, representative, or successor of the representative. A fund or organization that is not a legal entity. The instrument is payable to a representative of the members of the fund, organization, or an office to a person described as a holding office. The instrument is payable to that named person, the incumbent of the office, or the successor of the incumbent. If an instrument is payable to two or more persons, alternatively, it is payable to any of them and may be negotiated, discharged, or enforced by any or all of them in possession of the instrument. If an instrument is payable to two or more persons, not alternatively, it is payable to all of them and may be negotiated, discharged, or enforced only by all of them. If an instrument payable to two or more persons is ambiguous as to whether it is payable to the persons alternatively, the instrument is payable to the persons alternatively. So, place of payment. Except as otherwise provided for items in Article 4, an instrument is payable at the place of payment stated in the instrument. If no place of payment is stated, usually they have like an address, like send the payment to here, and then they'll have like this little envelope in there, like a free envelope for you to put your payment inside of, usually when you receive a bill. If no place of payment is stated, an instrument is payable to the address of the drawee or maker stated in the instrument. If no address is stated, the place of payment is the place of business of the drawee or maker. If a drawee or maker has more than one place of business, the place of payment is any place of business of the drawee or maker chosen by the person entitled to enforce the instrument. If the drawee or maker has no place of business, the place of payment is the residence of the drawee or maker. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is just talking about the place of payment. You're either going to pay it to the address they listed. If they don't have one, then you're probably going to go to the individual that's representing the business.
To meet in physical, so you can write it, or if it's eligible by a digital copy, you can then do email.
Right.
And write it that way.
Where are we at? Yeah.
When it comes to technicalities, how does it work when when you go to the driver's licenses and sometimes over there they have the electronic writers?
Yeah.
Do those ever count when you try to write your signature on those? Or would writing your name would have to be on the paper itself?
No. Your name don't even really. I mean, yeah, your name has to be on there because you are the payee. It doesn't have to be written though. It could be typed. As you can see, like when you get a bill, usually it's typed up there. It's when you endorse it, when you put your signature at the bottom, that's when you're showing that this is, I am claiming this account and I'm saying that this is the payment and stuff like that. Question: how can people be different on other people's lives compared to their own? I don't know how to answer that question, love. Um, are you saying like what kind of themes you want to do in your live? Is that what you're saying? What kind of live you want to host? Okay, so we are at 3112 3-112. Unless otherwise provided in the instrument, an instrument is not payable with interest, and interest on an interest-bearing instrument is payable from the date of the instrument. Interest may be stated in an instrument as a fixed or variable amount of money, or it may be expressed as a fixed or variable rate of rates. The amount of rate of interest may be stated or described in the instrument in any manner and may require reference to information not contained in the instrument. If an instrument provides for interest, but the amount of interest payable cannot be ascertained from the description, interest is payable at the judgment rate in effect at the place of payment of the instrument and at the time of the interest first accrues. But they usually cover that when they put like, oh, this is how much you owed, this is the new one, this is the difference, and here's why. Okay, so 3-113, date of instrument. An instrument may be antedated or postdated. So either past after the date or before the date. The date stated determines the time of payment if the instrument is payable at a fixed period after date. So sometimes when people write checks, they might write that check out on December 5th, but they might write on the check December 12th because they don't want you to cash the check until December 12th. Or sometimes I'm gonna play a little trick, just in case it might be December 5th, but I might write December 3rd and be like, dang, you just not getting my check in the mail. That's crazy. I signed that for December 3rd. Shit like that. But the date stated determines the time of payment if the instrument is payable at a fixed period after date. Except as provided in section 4-401C, we'll get to that later, an instrument payable on demand is not payable before the date of the instrument, which that should be, verified in the order. Well, not the order. Y'all know what I meant. Wrong word. If an instrument is undated, its date is the date of the issue, or in the case of unissued instrument, the date it first comes in possession of the holder. So you're not putting a date, also puts a date. Interaction is like they'll be hollering and very social elsewhere, but hardly on their own. I mean, some people are reflectors and projectors, and they just absorb the energy that's around them, and but when they get by themselves, they're probably quiet,
You
on
get
their
more
own
into like
energy.
how people recharge and how people exert themselves when you get into psychology too.
Yeah, some people
Introverts,
charged up by
extroverts.
other people, and then they be chill by themselves.
The mixture of the two, when different recharges and the different ways they exchange with others, is called ambiverts. It could be one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
You can still like to exert yourself and be social like an extrovert, but you need seclusion in order to recharge. You feel sucked when you're near others for too long.
Some people are the opposite. Some people get rowdy by themselves and they get around other people and they get quiet. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a mask that helps them speak, which is why people find it so much easier to talk online and also rally.
All right, 3-114. Contradictory terms of instrument. If an instrument contains contradictory terms, the typewritten terms prevail over the printed terms. Now, if you have handwritten terms, they prevail over both. So if this shit is typed out, whatever I handwrite over it, that trumps everything else on that document. Handwriting prevails everything. That means that the instruments and all this shit can be negotiated. It can be edited by your handwriting. Which is crazy because I remember in school they used to bash doing things by hand. Oh no, do it on the computer. We're not doing anything else by hand anymore. And it was a big deal. And teachers didn't even want stuff handwritten. So they kind of like shamed the students out of handwriting things. But that was doing this. It was preventing people from knowing how to edit contracts and knowing that handwriting actually trumps over typing, because now everybody's afraid to handwrite things.
Kind of glad I got older teachers when I was, because they would actually try to get me to do the opposite.
Right. All right, 3-115. We got 4 more of these and then we're going to move on. Incomplete instrument. Incomplete instrument means an assigned writing, whether or not issued by the signer, the contents would show at the time of signing that it is incomplete, but that the signer intended it to be completed by the addition of words or numbers. Subject to subsection C, if an incomplete instrument is an instrument under section 3-104, it may be enforced according to its terms. If it is not completed or according to its terms, it is augmented by completion. If an incomplete instrument is not an instrument under section 3-104, but after completion, the requirements of section 3-104 are met, and that was the UC code where we got into like what makes an instrument or an order. The instrument may be enforced according to its terms as augmented by completion. If words or numbers are added to an incomplete instrument without authority of the signer, there is an alteration of the incomplete instrument under section 3-407. That reminds me of this movie. You ever watch that movie Blank Check? It's about this little boy. I don't know how he comes across this blank check. I forget how it was. But he signs into it like how much money he wanted. I want to say he put like $1 million or something.
Probably that amount.
And then, he's just spending all his bread. But that's what it makes me think about, like him just like finishing off the
I think I heard the concept.
It was a kid's movie.
I think so, but like I don't remember it.
If words or numbers are added to an incomplete instrument without authority of the signer, there's an alteration of the incomplete instrument. The burden of establishing that words or numbers were added to the incomplete instrument without authority of the signer is on the person asserting the lack of authority. So 3116, joint and several liability contribution. A, except as otherwise provided in the instrument, 2 or more persons who have the same liability on the instrument as makers, drawers, acceptors, endorsers, which is usually like probably like a purchaser and then a cosigner, who endorse as joint payees or anomalous endorsers, are jointly and severally and severally liable in the capacity in which they sign, except as provided in section 3-419E, which we'll get into, or by agreement of the affected parties. A party having joint and several liability who pays the instrument is entitled to receive from any party having the same joint and several liability contribution in accordance with applicable law. 3-117, other agreements affecting instrument. Subject to applicable law regarding exclusion of proof of contemporaneous or previous agreements, the obligation of a party to an instrument to pay the instrument may be modified, supplemented, or nullified by a separate agreement of the obliger and a person entitled to enforce the instrument. If the instrument is issued or the obligation is incurred in reliance on the agreement or as a part of the same transaction giving rise to the agreement, to the extent an obligation is modified, supplemented, or nullified by an agreement under this section, the agreement is a defense to the obligation. 3-118, statute of limitations. And we got into this yesterday too, I believe. But except as provided in subsection E, an action to enforce the obligation of a party to pay a note payable at a definite time must be commenced within 6 years after the due date or date stated in the note, or and if the due date is accelerated within 6 years after accelerated due date. This is like the concept behind getting things taken off your credit after 7 years, but they have a habit of selling debts or whatever, so it brings back up the accounts. But we can get into that later, because that can be argued as well. Except as provided in subsection D or E, if demand for a payment is made to the maker of a note payable on demand, an action to enforce the obligation of a party to pay a note must be commenced within 6 years after the demand. If no demand for payment is made to the maker, an action to enforce the note is barred if neither principal nor interest on the note has been paid for a continuous period of 10 years. Except as provided in subsection D, an action to enforce the obligation of a party to an unaccepted draft to pay the draft must be commenced within 3 years after dishonor of the draft or 10 years after the date of the draft, whichever period expires first. An action to enforce the obligation of the acceptor of a certified check or issuer of the teller's check, cashier's check, or traveler's check must be commenced within 3 years after demand for the payment is made by the acceptor, as the case may be. An action to enforce the obligation of a party to a certified deposit to pay the instrument must be commenced within 6 years after demand for payment is made to the maker. But if the instrument states a due date and the maker is not required to pay before that date, the 6-year period begins when a demand for payment is in effect and the due date has passed. Now, I don't know how this plays along with student loans. I feel like student loans are under a different jurisdiction of something, but we can get into that later. An action to enforce the obligation of a party to a certificate of deposit to pay their instrument must be commenced within 6 years after demand for payment is made to the maker. But if the instrument states a due date and the maker is not required to pay before that due date, the 6-year period begins when the demand for the payment is in effect and the due date has passed. An action to enforce an obligation of a party to pay an accepted draft other than the certified check must be commenced within 6 years after the due date or date stated in the draft acceptance if the obligation of the acceptor is payable at definite time within 6 years after the date or acceptance of the obligation and acceptor is payable in demand. So this is giving like how to clear off your credit. Unless governed by other law regarding claims for indemnity or contribution, an action for conversion of an instrument for money had and received, or like action based on conversion for breach of warranty to enforce an obligation, duty, or right arising under this article not governed by this section must be commenced within 3 years after the cause of action accrues. So you got 3, 6, and 10. Those are the numbers. 3-119, knowledge born. Notice of right to defend action. And an action for breach of an obligation for which a third person is answerable over pursuant to this article or Article 4. The defendant may give the third person notice of the litigation in a record, and the person notified may then give similar notice to any other person who is answerable over. If the notice states that the person may be notified, may come in and defend, that failure to do so will bind the person notified in action later brought by the person giving the notice to any determination of fact common to the two litigations. And the person notified is so bound unless after seasonable receipt of the notice that the person notified does come in and defend. So that's kind of like being summoned into court. So now we're getting to part 2, negotiation, transfer, and endorsement, which we'll get into tomorrow. So let's get to my favorite part. One of my favorite parts. Yeah, we're on day 26, y'all, and we got some short videos. So we're, like I said, we're definitely going to get through this by this weekend, so that when we get to the third decade of the month, we're definitely going to be in a space of understanding and expression and creating with the things that we've learned. So I really want us to start making efforts into filling out some forms.
This is the one that you guys are going to get.
Wix gives you the power of AI.
Hardest dick ever for, which is just the fact, because this is where everybody loses their fucking mind. You have a trust account attached to your social security number, and the U.S. Treasury is the trustee, and you are the beneficiary. It is a Cesta KV account, like we've already covered many, many times. That account has a minimum of everything I've researched of $100 million in it. Probably maybe 120, 130, 140 ish, probably somewhere in that ballpark. Okay. So the way it works is there's two types of it has on ledger and off ledger money. Okay. And this is all from Christopher Hauser. And the on ledger money is the money that you put into the account via your payroll. Oh, by the way, all Social Security money that comes out of your paycheck, if you actually study, and I don't have the exact specific fucking thing. I have a buddy of mine who found this. fucking buddy of mine. It's just like everything else. All the money that you put into your Social Security account out of your paycheck is considered a gift, a voluntary gift to the Social Security account. So if you don't want to pay it anymore, don't fucking pay it. Okay. The off money, the off ledger money is what the government puts in that is not listed. Keep in mind, the U.S. Treasury is the trustee of your Social Security account. You're the beneficiary. It's not your job. People always get so excited about this. Oh my God, I want to find out how much money I have in there. Oh my God, how do I? You can go to Fidelity and hire a fucking broker and find the QSIP numbers and from your birth certificate and do all this crazy ass shit, which I haven't done. I don't want to do it. But the thing is that it's not your job to figure out how much money's in there or do anything with the account. Your only job is to benefit from the account. You're not a trustee. You're a beneficiary. Your job is to write checks and buy shit. That's your job. There's a way that you can take a 1099-A IRS form and write it in the form of a check and use it to purchase things that you want. Purchases have to benefit you and be a somewhat justifiable purchase in terms of your life. Okay. Now, the video that covers how to do this, and there's a bunch of different videos, is by Christopher Hauser. And that video is right here. And a million billion people have downloaded all these videos, including myself. And if for any reason his channel ever goes down, I'll put all his videos on my website, and I'm sure 8 million other people will too. So don't you worry about that. This is the video right here, 1099A and 1099C. It's your money. Please don't call my house. So many people were calling his house that he put, please don't call my house in all of the videos. I would recommend that you watch all of his videos from the beginning. Watch all these, watch all these, watch all these, and then watch all these, and then watch these two, and then boom. And then you hit that one. He's just fucking so good, man. I mean, look, you can see, 6.3 thousand views for this one, and this one has 8,000 views and 6,000 views, and then this one has 330,000 views. I don't know, man. If you think you're going to watch one fucking 30-minute video and be able to figure all this out and access all this, that ain't going to happen. You have to understand trust law to do this activity, right? I'll give you a little taste of it, right? So 1099A form, it's called acquisition or abandonment of secured property, right? What does that mean? That means basically, let's see here. Can I? Oh, wow. That's great. All right. Ooh, that's cool. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is the form. You have to get originals because it comes with a carbon copy, and it's scannable. So you can't just print one off the internet. You have to get originals from the IRS. You can order them online. I'll show you how to order IRS forms. It's free. Just don't be a dick and order a million of them, because that's what people already did, and they fucked it all up. And none of us could get any of these fucking forms for like 5 months because of all you fucking cocksuckers who order 10,000 of these fucking things. You only need like 10, maybe 15. Literally, I'm not kidding. You're not using these to buy a fucking, you're not using these to pay your cell phone. You're using these to buy a home or buy a car or buy fucking, 40 pounds of gold. You know what I mean? So the lender's name is the U.S. Treasury, 1111 Constitution Avenue, Washington, D.C. The lender's TIN is the TIN number of the Treasury. The borrower's TIN number is your Social Security number. You're the one borrowing the money out of your own account, basically. The borrower's name is your human name, your street address, your city. The account number, you can type in whatever the fuck you want into this box. Date of lender's acquisition or knowledge of abandonment. You type in the date here of whatever. balance of principal outstanding. You type in how much the check is for. This is going to be a check. You type in fair market value of the property. It's the same number. You do not check this box. And then you type in or write in whatever the description of the property is. If it's a car, 2022 Shelby GT500, VIN number, VIN or ZHT, blah, 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 blah. And then you do for calendar year. You do the previous year, I believe, of whatever year you're in now. So it would be 2021. And then you have to do some other stuff with this form. But basically, you just transform this form into a check, and you're requesting, you're demanding, really, because they're your trustees. You're demanding that they pull all of this money out of your Sesta KV trust account. Now, again, you can watch the video on the Christopher Hauser video series. Again, if for some reason that video series goes down, I'll be putting all of his videos on my website. Christopher Hauser will live forever in my world, no matter what happens to him. And this form, basically the way it works is it's acquisition or abandonment of secured property. It's the word "or" here, right? So I know this abandonment thing is kind of confusing. This has to do with mortgages, and I'm going to explain that later, but it's acquisition of secured property. So to acquire anything, basically, it's just a check, literally all it is, right? So then what you do is you sign the back of this piece of paper, the copy A, with the beneficiary signature on this side, on the left side. He explains it in the videos in the Christopher Hauser, right? Now again, this is 2022. I know a bunch of people who have accessed their trust account successfully. I know people who have gotten houses and cars and all sorts of crazy shit. Now, I've sent in a whole lot of fucking checks for more money than you can ever possibly imagine. I haven't seen or heard a fucking peep. Now, I think the reason why that is because 8 trillion fucking people have sent in these checks this year, to the point where the Treasury has gotten bent over and gang raped violently. Okay. It's probably something on the order of, 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 or more X the normal traffic that they're used to having. I mean, complete annihilation. Now, back in the day, according to Christopher Hauser and some buddies of mine who have had this done successfully, it took about 45 days to get the money. Who knows? Who fucking knows? I'm just showing you that this is the one part of the course where everyone's going to have, the veiny Snickers bar cock. But the problem is that this is the one part of the course that I don't know what to tell you. Everything else it's not a theory. This is not a theory. It's just everything else in this course that I've taught you so far is all like rock solid. You can do it. You can get started today. You can get started tomorrow. This is something that it's up to you. If you want to send some shit in, go for it. I would definitely, for sure, not bank on this ever coming to you. Like 1,000%. Don't live your life as though this money's coming. Don't assume this money's coming. Just don't. That is a recipe for complete annihilation of your life. Now, if you want to go and send one of these fucking things in, or go buy a car, or go buy a house, or try to write a check to your friend for some kind of services from him, or whatever it is you want to do it just with the expectation that it's never going to happen, and forget about it. I feel like if you do that, that's cool. That's solid. But if you do something with this, or try to, live your life with this, it's just dumb, very dumb. You can pay off your house with it. You can send it in. If you're, let's say you're having trouble paying your mortgage, you can send one of those fucking things in with a conditional acceptance and just stop paying your mortgage completely. There's ways you can do that. You've already seen how I did the conditional acceptance. I know for a fact, because I'm shooting this now, I know for a fact I will be putting the one conditional acceptance on there, and then I recently did another one. Will I add the second conditional acceptance to this course? I don't know. I may or I may not. We'll see. But yeah, you can pay off debts. You can buy a new car. You can buy a new house with this account. This account is completely separate from the bond account I spoke previously. Now, I get asked this question a lot. So I don't know if I had this in here. People ask me all the time, will changing my status fuck up my ability to access my trust? Well, doing a revocation of election fuck up my ability to access the trust. Will do anything under the sun, moon, and stars anywhere fuck up my ability to access the trust? The answer is no, 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 a big fat no. You couldn't kill that trust if you wanted to. Honestly. So don't you worry about that. Don't you worry about that. Will you ever see any money from the trust if you send shit in? I don't know, but you definitely won't fuck it up. I promise you that. The reason why the government, quote unquote, puts money in your trust is because they are the successor of the trust and they get it all back during probate after your death. This includes all the money you put into it as well. So they print money out of thin air, fiat, and then stuff it in your trust. And now they can get loans based off of it as a successor of the trust. This is complex because they can't just print money and hand it to themselves. So this is how they do it. Now you are the beneficiary of the trust. So keep in mind, you really shouldn't be asking about the accounts or trying to administer the trust. Now, what happens is that if you start fucking around and trying to administer the trust, you become a pseudo trustee, and it fucks up. It's actually trust fraud on the beneficiary end. So just keep in mind, it's not your fucking job. Your job is to cash checks, period. Right? Your only job is to benefit, meaning to write checks off the account of the trust or benefit off the things the trust holds. That's it. All you do is just learn how to write the 1099-A forms as checks. Then you simply write them as checks. There's most likely there's over 100 million in your account. The funny thing is we are all rich trust fund babies and don't even know it. So like I said, this is going to get your dick hard as fuck. I don't really care that much about all this. I'm not, I personally am more interested in the freedoms and the breaking of contracts more so than I am in piles of cash. Have I tried to get piles of cash from all different directions? And am I continuing to try to get piles of cash from all different directions? Yes, I am. Will I continue to try to get the trust money? Yes. I just find it depressing and sad that most Americans are more interested in stuffing money in their pocket than regaining their own human rights. And I think it's kind of pathetic that I think most people would sell off their human rights for a small paycheck. I just think it's disgusting, really. So, Chris Hauser, the 1099 ended up becoming his entire platform because people got so fucking hard off of the idea that there could be all this money in this trust. And that just became what everybody fucking asked about all the time. I don't want to fucking hear about it. I don't really want to get messages about it. I don't really want to fucking hear about it. If you can't figure it out, too bad. My interest and my desires and what I'm trying to do and where my interest lies and the people that I want around me are people who are trying to kill contracts like Agent 47, code Agent 47 from fucking the video game Hitman, like Rambo, like fucking Terminator. That's what I want. I like freedom. I like America. I like the idea of America. I like the de jure government. I like the recreation of the de jure government. I like Nasara. I like Jassara. I like sexy fucking women. I like crazy ass V8 sports cars that are loud as fuck. I like all this kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. If I could get $100 million, it'd be great. I'd be really happy with that. I'd take it. You know what I mean? But I'm not trying to suck dick for money. And I definitely, for sure, if someone came to me and they're like, look, we'll give you all your rights. We'll give you all the rights under the sun, moon, and stars. And we'll pretend as though you never even had a birth certificate. We'll pretend as though you never even had a social security account. But in exchange, we want our $120 million. You have to give it to us. I don't know what I would do. I might actually make that deal. So again, I'm all about freedom, education, not just about money. So I don't want that in my messages. If I get money, like frankly, I'll probably just block your ass. or report it as spam or something. I don't want it, but you deserve to know because you are the Sesta KV. You are the beneficiary of the account. You deserve to know that there is an account that's sitting there. If you have a social security number, you have an account. You have a Treasury Direct account, and then you have the trust account, and there's probably other shit too. So anyways, that's it for this video. Again, if you want to go down this rabbit hole, don't bring me along with it because I'm not really interested in this particular rabbit hole. If you access your trust account and you actually successfully get a car or a house or money, that I would like to know. Because then it's like, okay, good. Like one more person that I know that actually got this to work. Okay. So that's it for video number 26. I will see you guys on video number 27. Thank you.
Supercharge your rewards with Google.
Okay. Video number 27. This one's all about foreclosure. Okay. Let's get into it. So foreclosure is a very funny thing. When you foreclose on a property, the mortgage company actually files a 1099-A, which is the thing we just saw. We just went over. They get the entire property paid out of your social security account. And then they have your social security Sesta KV trust account. And then they have you kicked out of your home. Okay. Now, the way that this actually works is based off of abandonment laws. Now, again, the 1099-A form is acquisition or abandonment of secure property, right? That's why it makes me wonder if this wasn't like a whole fucking massive scam all the way from the beginning designed to be like this, to just collect up people's properties. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I have no idea. But the way that it actually works is different than what you think, right? So this works off of abandonment laws. That's the way a foreclosure actually works. So the way it works is you pay off your entire house during a foreclosure in cash from your Sesta KV account. Then you willingly leave thinking that you need to, and then the mortgage company repossesses your home under abandonment laws. So you don't leave your home because of foreclosure. You leave your home and then it's considered abandoned and then they repossess it. So what can you do? Once you have the foreclosure and they file the 1099, the house is fully paid off. At that point, you can just stay in your home. Now, will the sheriff come? Probably. But you can just stay in your house. If the sheriff throws you out and locks the door, you simply say, all right, sheriff, you got me. I mean, it's the sheriff. So remember, he's de jure. Might not understand, but he's probably a cool dude. If the sheriff throws you out, just simply go right back in again. Now, you can be arrested, but it's okay because they can only hold you for contempt. So the way that works is each state is different. Each state has different rules, but they are limited, and you can only be held in contempt 2 or 3 times for maybe 10 days each, depending on the state. This is just an example. It varies from state to state, but how many times and for how long each time they can hold you for contempt is based off of your state, right? So this is just an example. Let's say it's 10 days per shot, and they can only give you 3 shots of contempt, right? You get thrown in jail for 10 days, you go back to your home. Then you get thrown in jail again for 10 days. Then you go back to your home. Then the sheriff comes back and says, God damn it, blah, 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 and throws you in jail the 3rd time for 10 days. And then you go back home again. Now, at that point, after the 3rd time that you get busted for contempt and you go back to your home, your house is now paid off, free and clear, and you own your house. The nightmare is over, and you're good to go for life. So you can also file your own 1099-A to pay off your home as well if you want. You can learn that from Christopher Hauser, like I taught you in the last video. This is the way mortgage companies work. Mortgage plus, as we said earlier, mortgages don't even exist. So you can also walk if you'd rather not go down the 1099-A, you can go down the conditional acceptance and prove to me that there was equal consideration given on this loan, because there wasn't, which makes the whole contract dissolves instantly, right? So it's a little bit strange. So basically, like, you're in the home and they're not in the home, and there's this contract that states that if you don't pay off the home, they get to take the home back, right? But when you dissolve the contract, there's no longer any contract. So everything that you signed is now gone. But who's physically in the home? You are. Possession is like 9/10 of the law. So the way it works is that after that point, they can't really do anything. They can't repossess the home. They can't kick you out. That's the way you can do it. You can conditionally accept under the grounds of it was never a contract to begin with, and they actually got you to sign under fraud. So that's basically how you can just dissolve your mortgage. Just snap your fingers and your mortgage disappears, right? Now, does that mean they're not going to fight with you and do all sorts of crazy ass shit? No, but I'm telling you, it's a battle that is not very difficult to win if you want to put up the fight. It's really not. I know plenty of people who have done this successfully. Now, is it stressful? Is it something that goes on for a while? Yeah, but if you're losing out and you don't know how to pay your bill, your mortgage, and you want to keep your home, I mean, you got nothing to lose. So this is what you can do. You can do a 1099A in the conditional acceptance to actually pay it off, or you can just do a 1099, or you can do a 1099A conditional acceptance that says, like, if you don't want to accept my 1099A, or if you want to give me a hard time, then you have to prove to me that you gave equal consideration, blah, blah, blah. You can hit them from multiple angles too. It's not like you just can only hit them from one angle. You can hit them from as many angles as you can. If you want to keep your home, just hit them from 9,000 different directions. Now, the reason why I don't have any qualms telling you guys any of this information is because, 80 years ago, 90 years ago, nobody had mortgages on their home. And now the banks own goddamn fucking everything. And they own goddamn fucking everything because of fraud. So it's a oppressive system. Now, does that mean you can be a dick and tear apart loan officers and people who don't fucking understand what's going on? No. But does that mean that you have to be a slave of fraud and get bent over and lubed up your asshole to make sure you get railed by people who are committing fraud? No, it doesn't. So keep in mind, the whole point of me teaching you this is because, again, if the whole system burned to the ground, then the banks wouldn't own everything and people would just own houses and it would be kind of chaotic. But it's better than the crazy criminal system we have now where the banks own everything through fraud. They own everything through fraud. That's ridiculous. That's illegal. That's so criminal. So criminal what they do. They make people pay, and then they make the Cesta KV accounts pay, and then they it's crazy. You pay the whole house off immediately when you sign the documentation. Then now you're paying for 35 years at some interest rate on top of that. And then if you don't pay, they take the house back and repossess it and turn around and sell it to the next fucking idiot. And then that person pays for the whole thing up front, again, with 1099A form. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what they do with all this shit. It's just the most criminal thing you can ever possibly imagine. So do I have qualms teaching people how to get out of their mortgages and get their mortgages to dissolve to the ground? Fuck, man. Not one bit, man. You go for it. You go for it. Another thing that happens is if you notice when you get a mortgage, they offload the loan to somebody else within maybe 30 days of having your loan. They sell the full loan at 60% or some huge discount. Now, why would they do that? That's because they filed a 1099A form right away and the house is fully paid out of your Cesta KV trust account, which is your money. Then they sell the loan for 60%, and then the new company takes over the payments and the interest, hoping that you default on it at some point so they can take it back and then restart the whole process again, right? Your house is fully paid off the moment you sign the mortgage documents and you didn't even know it. Then the debt portion is a double charge on the home, and you paying is tacit consent that you agree to the terms. Fraud vitiates everything from its inception. So this is a massive fraudulent situation. All mortgages are illegal and do not exist at all from their inception. You can simply send it in another 1099A form and satisfy the second loan, but then you have technically paid twice for your property. The better choice is just to pay off the entire home with the 1099A form up front, so you aren't double paying for it, or just conditionally accept and challenge them to prove the various points that we've gone over in this video to make sure that the mortgage is real. That's it. This one's simple. I'm going to keep it short. So that's it for video number 27. I will see you guys at video number 28. Brandon. Hey there, sexy. It's Brandon. I'm here to give you what you want. I'm here to give you what you need. Video number 28. Oh. Welcome back. Yeah. Video number 28. What's up? Oh, man, I want to go into some good stuff today. This is going to be a number 28 on the website's about vaccines, so it's going to be very, very short. But I was thinking about, I was eating breakfast this morning. I decided I wanted to go over something really, really important with you guys. And I wanted to go over with you instruments of freedom. We've got clips. We've got pistols. I mean, these bad boys right here are the one thing, just holding them, not using them, just having them. The founding fathers knew that if we own these and just had them sitting here, I mean, hell, even if we hardly knew how to use them, just having them here, just going like this, just setting them here at the end of the desk. Yeah, this keeps people from doing too much crazy shit they shouldn't be doing. Okay, these are not anywhere near as powerful as a demeanor and a mindset of asking questions about words, terms, and phrases. Not even close. Not even these are almost have almost zero power compared to that mindset, right? But in terms of a number 2 position of power, these bad boys right here are freedom insurers. Freedom insurers. And I'm going to go over how that is and why that is. And there's all these fucking people on the internet that are talking about the Second Amendment and just like everything else on both sides of the spectrum, people on the right, people on the left, people in the center, people who have chopped their fucking dicks off and run around telling people they've got no rights. Everybody under the sun, moon, and stars fits the same fucking category. They don't understand the definitions of words. Period. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you the how to carry a firearm. Any fucking firearm. If you want to carry a fucking 50 caliber fully automatic belt-fed machine gun that weighs 97 pounds on a sling, you're probably going to cause some serious fucking upset. I wouldn't recommend it. Again, you got to keep in your trusty beneficiary relationship. So, if you walk down the street with a fully automatic, Hitler's buzzsaw MG42, that's not going to be very beneficial for people emotionally, right? It depends on where you go. There's some areas in the country where you do something like that, and you're gonna cause a lot of happiness and excitement, right? You come around my house, I'm gonna be real thrilled about it, right? But the problem is, keep in that trusty beneficiary relationship. Don't go, I don't run around in California with machine guns strapped to my body and stuff like that because in California people will lose their fucking mind. Okay, now concealed carrying a handgun, that's a very different story. But I will show you the simplicity of all of this right now. So we have the Second Amendment, right? And the Second Amendment does not apply to U.S. citizens. That's why you have to get a concealed carry permit. That's why you have to get an FFL. That's why you have to get on your knees and suck dick like a circus seal to be given your God-given rights by humans, which is fucking disgusting. Humans do not give you your human rights. Yes, God gives you your human rights. The fact that you're even here means God has blessed you with your rights. If you didn't have the God-given rights, you wouldn't fucking be here. It's that simple, okay? Now, if someone asks me, where's your concealed carry permit? Where's your permit to own this firearm? Where's this? It's right here. Right here. And you hear this a lot by people on the right. There it is, right there. Here it is, right here. Right here, right? And you hear this all the time by people on the right. You know, my Second Amendment, my Second Amendment, my Second Amendment. And then where does it go from there? Well, the argument goes to the definition of a militia. Then you go and look in the definition of a militia in the dictionary, and it's some weird ass definition that doesn't really apply. And people try to fit that in there like a square peg in a round hole. And then now they just argue for the next 20 years and nobody ever gets anywhere, and it's fucking retarded, right? This whole conversation of the Second Amendment is really, really fucking simple. Okay. And nobody needs to argue about it anymore. Nobody needs to talk about it anymore. Nobody needs to go on social media and spout off and fucking jerk off in front of the camera about it anymore. Okay. It's real fucking simple. You go to Black's Law, 4th edition, which is on the screen right now. And they have a definition of militia. It's right here. Oh my God. Shocking. Shocking. Everyone's fucking complaining about definitions, arguing about definitions. Oh no. Could there possibly be a fucking definition that actually applies and clarifies what the founding fathers, who weren't fucking retards, were trying to say? Maybe. No. Let's just argue about it for 20 years and fucking jerk off and jam cucumbers up our ass. Oh, okay. I'll jam a cucumber up your ass if you jam one up my ass. Oh, I'd love to. So let's pull the cucumbers out of our ass and actually clear up the definition of the word militia. Okay. The definition of militia is the body of citizens in a state enrolled for discipline as a military force, but not engaged in actual service except in emergencies, as distinguished from regular troops or a standing army. You also have militiamen, comprehends every temporary citizen soldier who in time of war or emergency enters active military service of the country. Okay, so what they're saying in this definition is it's the people who live now. I get that they use the word citizen, they use the word state. State is lowercase, citizens lowercase. Remember, this is a very old dictionary. They're not referring to U.S. citizen here. They're referring to the more benevolent definition. They're referring to just someone who lives in an area and is connected with and interacts with and is an integral part of some sector. They're talking about de jure. So it wouldn't be like at this time period, I don't think there even was U.S. citizen versus, maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, but that's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about just chill with all that for a second. They're talking about the body of citizens in a state enrolled for discipline as a military force, but not engaged in actual service except in emergencies as distinguished from regular troops or standing army, right? Comprehends every temporary citizen soldier who in time of war or emergency enters active military service of the country, right? So it's I remember seeing another definition here somewhere too. I can't remember what it was, but basically what militia means is it means every person in a civilian body or a citizen body, a non fucked up definition of citizen, right? Like a person living in an area, even a resident or even a sojourn of an area who's there at that time. Anyone who could or has the capacity to fight would be considered a militia or a militiaman. So that idea gets a little bit tricky because there could be somebody who could barely even move their body. They might be in some hospital bed somewhere in some hospital, but if they're willing to pick up a firearm and they can hold the firearm in their hand and pull the trigger, or you could even go farther than that and say, like, what if someone's willing to hold a bunch of bombs in their chest and they're waiting for some kind of insurgency team to come in and they're gonna kill themselves by blowing up the whole building like an old kamikaze Japanese fighter pilot something like that, right? This is in my opinion, it means basically everyone who's not in a coma. If the person has the physical, mental, and okay, so it probably wouldn't include people who are like super delusional or who have no grip to reality at all. It probably wouldn't include people who can't answer simple questions, people who can't take care of themselves at all. It probably wouldn't include people like that. If you can ask a human being, are you ready and willing to fight? And that human being actually has the capacity to answer the question yes or no. That person would be officially classified as militia. If you cannot ask the person that question because they cannot comprehend that question and give you a lucid answer, that person would not be considered militia. And that's the definition of militia, right? So when you think about it that way, it's a lot different, right? So militia, so a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? So if you fit that category of militia, meaning if it's not a person who gets asked, are you ready to fight? And they say yes. It's just a person who has the capacity to answer the question. So if a person doesn't want to fight and they're like, fuck you, I have no interest in fighting, I'm not going to fight, I'm a pacifist by religion, they're still militia, but they're answering the question no. And because their power of choice is higher on the scale than law, they are not compelled to bear arms, but they still have the right to bear arms at any point in time in their life if they so desire. So militia is a person who has the capacity to answer the question. Someone who's insane, someone who's lost their mind from some kind of LSD trip, someone who just doesn't talk and can't communicate, like someone who's highly autistic would not classify as militia. Someone who is like a young child probably wouldn't classify as militia. If you have a child that could be very young, let's say you have a 12-year-old, and you ask the 12-year-old, there's some bad people walking down the street right now. They're coming for us. Are you willing to, you could get hurt real bad, but are you willing to take this firearm? If I show you how to use it, are you willing to help us fight these bad people? And if they can understand that concept truly, not like you're trying to push it on them and they kind of get it, but like if they really truly understand and they really truly have a willingness to answer the question realistically, the kid might say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to hide in the closet. Okay. So the child has the choice to be active either way, but because the child had the ability to answer the question lucidly and understood the question, the child would be classified as militia. Okay. So militia is not some like weird private military force that has to be, the whole point of it is it's basically outside the government. So to say that the militia would be a government regulated unit or something like that, it does say well regulated, but it's not referring to well regulated by who, by what. It's not talking about the government. It's not talking about, the government does have its own militia. It's called the army. It's called the military. It's called the Marines. It's called all these different things. So how is a militia any different than that, right? So you can look it up let's look it up in fucking Black's Law 5th edition. Does Black's Law 5th edition say anything different about militia? There's definitions of gun in here. There's definitions of bullet in here. There's definitions of everything under the sun, moon, and stars in here, man. You want to look this shit up? You want to fucking learn? Marksman. Here's a definition of marksman. Definition of marriage, right? Oh, militia. Do you want to be part of the militia? Militia does not mean that someone has to act. Again, you can't say, oh, you're a okay. The military force of the nation, consisting of citizens called for it to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasion. Interesting. Interesting. Militia, composition and classes. So here's, not that I really, I'm going to use this to prove my point, but at the same time, I'm going to be transparent and not be a little fucking bitch ass piece of shit. I don't really care what the U.S. code has to say about militia because like I said, the whole point of militia is that it's non-governmental and not regulated by the government. It's a non-governmental citizen-based military force, and it's an essence that's inside all of us that can comprehend simple questions. Again, a militia, we are never ever forced to do anything ever. So again, I'm not saying this stuff so that people who lean right can use it on people who lean left in a way to force them into some kind of military service or militia. No. Yes, anyone who can answer the question is considered militia. Doesn't mean that they have to do the actions of a militia. It means that they are now a militia, and then now they have to answer the question and decide their own fate as a member of the militia. So someone who's left-leaning might say, I don't want to kill, I don't want to fight. That's fine. And then someone who's right-leaning might say, I do want to fight. As long as they can answer the question, the power of choice is always senior. But they are militia. Even if you're some, cross-dressing, gay parade, a 16 dildo vest, wearing person with rainbows everywhere, doesn't matter. If you can answer the question, you are militia. Okay. Back to this. 10 U.S. Code, section 246, militia composition and classes, right? A is talking about the National Guard, right? And the National Guard is like the official militia of United States. Okay. So you have the organized militia, which consists of the National Guard and the naval militia, right? Then number two, you have the unorganized militia, which consists of the members of the militia who are not members of the National Guard or naval militia, right? So again, militia, the idea of militia is inside of all of us. It's the essence of who we are and what we are. The idea of the American militia and the Second Amendment is the reason why nobody fucks with America. This is the reason why no one fucks with America, because you bring all your troops in here and all these hick-ass motherfuckers in overalls are going to be coming out of their house with all sorts of arsenals, chewing tobacco. They'll be rolling at you in a fucking lawnmower with a goddamn fucking long rifle, bolt-action rifle, in their hands and a fucking shotgun slung over their back and fucking dogs running at you and everything else, right? So that's the beauty of America. The beauty of America is that we have all this power and we have the willingness to fight, but we don't ever have to do it. And that's why I said earlier, this is not a symbol of harm. This is actually a symbol of defense. This is actually a symbol of the sustainment of power. And this is actually the symbol of freedom that is very, 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 very secondary, in my opinion, to the mentality of the questioning and curiosity of words, terms, and phrases. Again, like I said before. So did want to go over that. Another thing I wanted to tell you guys about, once you do become a state national, just in case anybody ever asks for your paperwork, because we are kind of in Auschwitz, where is your concealed carry permit? Where is your this? Where is your that? Where is your right to this, and where is your this to this and all this? All you got to do is you got your passport in your wallet, and then you have one of these bad boys, the Pocket Constitution. This is from it says here nccs.net, but I have one of these right here, and it says sharetheconstitution.com, but it looks like it may have gotten changed to another company, or maybe this is a nonprofit group. I don't know. So okay, yeah. So nccs.net. Number one selling Pocket Constitution, 23,400,000 distributed. They're $1 each, but you can get half off if you get 100 copies. So $49. Free shipping, made in the USA. Here's some kind of a seminar. We have all sorts of cool stuff. Speaking the language of liberty, behind the Bill of Rights, a miracle that changed the world. All sorts of cool stuff, right? If you want the cool ass old paper like what I have here, civil. Oh, I have that somewhere here. Shit. If I can't find it quickly, I have the I have a flyer. Let's see here. Oh, cool. Look at this. Wow, they didn't have these like weeks ago. I'm telling you, man, all the state national shit is just blowing up like so crazy. Oh. Hell yeah. This is it, boy. Super ghetto, old school website. This is where I bought all my shit from. You've got uscivilflags.org. On the nccs.net, you go to store, and then you go to Pocket Constitution. Ooh, children. What the fuck? They have children's books? Oh, dude, that is gangster as fuck. Look at this. The Miracle of America, Birth of a Nation, I Love America, Part 2. Oh, that is fucking cool, man. That is fucking cool. Okay. Store, Pocket Constitutions. Here you go. You can order these bad boys, and congratulations. You now have a concealed carry and open carry permit that you can carry around with you as long as you've changed your status. If you're a U.S. citizen, this is not a permit. If you are a state national, you don't need it, but it is a permit. You can carry it around, okay? uscivilflags.org. You can get a U.S. civilian flag, 3.5. This is where I bought this bad boy right here, this big-ass flag, as well as this cat, as well as this desk flag, and I also have a pin. I bought everything they got. So this one here is the hat that I got. This one here is my desk flag right here. Oh, no, there's the desk flag right there. There's also a car flag if you'd like to get one for your car. Miniature flags. This is like little tiny ones you see for like drinks and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. If I ever have a party or something, I'll probably get those bad boys. This is the pin. This is an arm patch. Boy, the day that the police are wearing these bad boys, ooh, man, that's going to be, the sheriff's office is going to one day, this is what the sheriff's office is going to have. These arm patches right here. If you're a cop and you're listening to all this information and you want to really rustle some feathers, I don't know what the legalities is of what you can do and what you can't do to your uniform, but man, you stitch this bad boy. I think it's on your right arm. Stitch this bad boy over the war flag, the martial law flag. Sons of Liberty patches. I don't know what that means or what. Templar Prosperity patch. No clue what that is. Here's the Declaration of Independence on partridge paper. Here's a 6-foot flagpole with an eagle. Declaration of Independence, U.S. Constitution. You can get the whole package. Articles of Confederation. So the Articles of Confederation is actually what came before the Constitution, and it's actually even more powerful than the Constitution in a lot of ways. So that's another thing you should read at some point in time, the Articles of Confederation, right? Northwest Ordinance of 1787. I don't know what that is. And then this is what I bought. 3 Documents of Freedom. Comes in an envelope, right? Civilian flag, Patriot postcards, civilian flag draped over the Capitol building. Civilian flags brochure. This is a brochure right here. This is the one that I have in my cupboard. And this is all available from uscivilflags.org. Okay. Keep in mind, one of the other things I wanted to go over when it comes to all this stuff, the Third Amendment, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. When you fly normal American flag, when you fly the normal American flag on your vehicle, on your home, anywhere at all whatsoever, you are, as per the Third Amendment, giving consent by the owner for soldiers to garrison or be quartered in your home or in your house. You are giving jurisdiction. You are basically, essentially what you're doing is you're waiving your right to search and seizure by having this flag on your body, or by having this flag on your car, or by having this flag on your home, etc. So when you wear one of these bad boys, and the shame of all of this is that no cop knows any of this information, okay? But you should know it because the du jour is coming, okay? When you have one of these bad boys on your home, when you have one of these bad boys on your hat, when you have one of these bad boys on your desk, you're saying, I'm at peace. I'm not involved in your war. I have no interest in what you are doing in your little sandbox. Don't involve me in it. Thank you. That's what you were saying. Okay. There are lots of other flags too. There are tons of flags. This flags say all sorts of shit. So if you would like to be a peace officer, if you would like to be a state national that is interested in peace, if you would like to be outside of all of the warring and all of the chaos that you see in the world, get yourself a pocket constitution, get yourself some civil peace flags, and wave them proudly, because that is the communication that you will be giving for that. Okay. This was a total side note. Point number 28 is actually about vaccines. So we're seeing a lot about vaccines recently in the media. Vaccines are essentially patent projects. And what I mean by that is the whole point of any DNA altering activity is to patent the newly created DNA, because the DNA is no longer natural. It's artificial, and artificial means it can be trademarked or owned or patented. Once they patent the new strains, legally they own you. It's the same way they own GMO corn or GMO salmon or GMO anything else, right? Genetically modified food sets the precedent in law to patent human DNA. They're trying to own you in every single possible way. The more angles they own you, the more it becomes truth in law. Okay? So they want you to say you're not a man and woman. You're a birthing person. You're a non-binary shooting star. That takes away all your rights. They want you to say you're a U.S. citizen. That takes away all your rights. They want you to get vaccinated, which now makes you own property. enough of these things pile up, and they could probably literally come pick you up, put you in a van, stuff you in a box, ship you off somewhere, have you cut up, harvest your organs, and it would be legal. I'm not kidding. There will be a point where there's enough of these fucking things in place where you got enough contracts in place where they can literally kidnap you. It's not kidnapping because they're just picking up. It's like going, I own a pair of shoes that's over at my buddy's house, and I go over and pick up my pair of shoes and bring them home. It's going to be no different in the eyes of the law. So keep in mind, if you are vaccinated and you are listening to these videos, I recommend that you start telling everyone under the sun, moon, and stars that you are not vaccinated. You write affidavits as such. You send them out. You try to get all your records deleted or taken away. Go to the hospital. Go to the center and say, I would like all of my records destroyed as per HIPAA or something. I don't know. Figure it out. I would try to wipe out all evidence that you were ever vaccinated from every single computer and system possible. And then just in your mind and in the mind of everyone around you, just delete the fact that it ever happened out of your existence. That's what I would do if I were you. If you haven't gotten vaccinated yet, obviously don't, because they own you. They own the DNA strain in your body, right? And you have these things like they've already done this. So this is not a theory. They've already done this. They've already patented salmon. They've already patented living creatures, multiple of them. They've already patented changing their DNA structure and then owning the DNA structure, thus owning the whole fucking thing. Okay. So this is not some theory. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is not some crazy whatever. This has already been done. This has been going on for a long time. So, there's so many different, you could say, oh, they would never do that. They would never do a lot of things. All of COVID was they would never do any of that. And there it happened. Right. And that's why this is the Great Awakening, because people are realizing that they're going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And if they can own you through vaccinations and patenting DNA, they will. So there you go. That's it for video number 28. I will see you guys on video number 29. Another video. This time I'm trying to make it completely clean. That way I can buy ads. This is my brand, and you can look me up on my clean version of my URL, which is don't.
Make your rewards soar.
Today, in less than 10 minutes, I'm going to teach you how you can operate any vehicle that you want without a driver's license, without smog, without license plates, without registration, completely legally. And so where police can't pull you over at all, completely legal. So first and foremost, we're going to be looking at the United States Code, which is divided by title. As you can see, there's all these different titles, right? The first thing we're going to be looking at is Title 18, which is Crimes and Criminal Procedure. We're going to go to 18 USC Section 31. This first number is the title. This is the body of law. This is a section symbol, and this is the section number, definitions. And you can type this into Google. You don't even need the S symbol, and you can just do USC. This will pop right up, including anything else I might show you on here. Very easy to find. Now, you go where? To the Bureau of Motor Vehicles or Department of Motor Vehicles to get your license plates and your driver's license and everything else. Well, everyone assumes what a motor vehicle is. Here's your definition right here. 18 USC 31 subsection A6. The term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes. It's blue and underlined like that because that means you can click on it. It's got a special definition, which we will cover. On the highways in the transportation of passengers and property or cargo.
Whoa.
Now let's go down and check out what that means. Used for commercial purposes, right? The term used for commercial purposes means the carriage of persons or property for any fare, fee, rate, charge, or other consideration, or directly or indirectly in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. So a motor vehicle is a vehicle that's transporting people or goods in exchange for some sort of monetary consideration, specifically and explicitly for transporting that person or thing from point A to point B, such as if I paid you $10 to transport a box from my house to my friend's house, or if I was a chauffeur, such as a bus driver, or if I was a taxi driver in New York, or an Uber driver, or a Uber Eats delivery guy. These are all motor vehicles. So you driving around or moving around in your own car for non-commercial purposes would not technically classify as a motor vehicle. You could even see here in California, they separate this out a lot. This is from, you just type in California Vehicle Code definitions, this will pop up. A commercial vehicle is a vehicle which is used or maintained for the transportation of persons for hire, compensation, or profit, or designed, used, and maintained primarily for the transportation of property. Whereas an automobile, you don't go to the Department of Motor Vehicles for automobiles, by the way. An automobile is a passenger vehicle that does not transport persons for hire. This includes, now it says includes, it doesn't mean is exclusive as only. It just says includes, meaning it could be one of these things or maybe other things too. Station wagons, sedans, vans, and sport utility vehicles. So wait a second there, Brandon. You mean to tell me that I drive around in a way where the state believes that I'm driving in a commercial activity and it's some kind of a job or I'm transporting people for property for money? Yep. Now this gets even more wild because we've got the next thing here, which is 49 Code of Federal Regulations, section 390.5T. You've heard a lot of these sovereign citizen type people driving around saying, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. But they never say where that comes from. Well, let's see. What is the definition of driving or driver? Driver means any person who operates any commercial motor vehicle. So when you get a driver's license, or when you give the police officer your driver's license, in that moment, you're saying, hi, officer, I am operating a commercial for hire motor vehicle. You have full jurisdiction over me. So you ask me, well, if a driver's license is a commercial activity, then what does that mean? And I say to you, well, if it's a commercial activity, then that's how the police and the state get jurisdiction. And we're going to go over jurisdiction a little later in this video. Commerce is within their jurisdiction. Non-commerce is not. So you ask me, well, how do I operate these vehicles and do these various things outside of commerce? The answer is a passport card. On the DS-11, the application for a U.S. passport, you can get a U.S. passport book, U.S. passport card, or both. A lot of people don't realize too is you can get a regular book or a large book. Get that card, carry that card. Now, when it comes to jurisdiction, there's two types of jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction is the requirement that a given court have power over the defendant based on minimum contacts with the forum, right? Basically just means jurisdiction over you as the human being. Subject matter jurisdiction is the power to hear a certain kind of claim that is brought to that court and can also include the vehicle in question or the activities in question. One of the easiest ways to break personal jurisdiction, as well as subject matter jurisdiction to some degree, is this passport card. But if you go above the DMV, they have this thing called the Federal Motor Carrier, right? Now, there's two types of motor carrier. There's a private motor carrier and a for-hire motor carrier. A private motor carrier transports its own cargo, usually as a part of a business that produces, uses, sells, or buys that cargo that is being hauled. A private motor carrier transports its own goods and is not required to have is required to have a US DOT number, but does not need operating authority. Heading back over to 49 CFR 390.5T, for-hire motor carrier means a person engaged in the transportation of goods or passengers for compensation. So this is very, very interesting.
Let's put this old phone back in service with the new Generate Background feature in Photoshop.
private motor carrier DOT number is completely free and it's attached to some sort of business or trust, ideally you would create a trust and then you would attach it to the trust, which is more complicated than this short video can go. This is kind of like just to give you ideas. You only need one of these numbers for every single car, motorcycle, everything that you have that is not operating in commerce. And you actually can create your own license plates with this private motor carrier DOT number, and you can operate these vehicles outside of a commercial activity, and you never have to go to the DMV ever again, and it's all free. There's no smog, no registration, nothing. But we're going to cover what is registration exactly. As far as I can tell, registration is the Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program from 34 USC 12611, and it's going to piss you off, probably. Motor Vehicle Theft Prevention Program. The owner of a motor vehicle, which is a commercial vehicle, may voluntarily sign a consent form where you basically say that the vehicle is not operated under normal specified conditions. You agree to display program decals on devices, which is probably the registration sticker, and it permits law enforcement officers in any state to stop the motor vehicle and take reasonable steps to determine whether the vehicle is being operated by or with the permission of the owner. They don't need reasonable articulable suspicion or anything when you have current registration, as far as I can tell. You're waiving all your Fifth Amendment rights and everything because you're involved in a commercial activity. You are not private. Another important thing when it comes to breaking subject matter jurisdiction is the manufacturer certificate of origin, which this is hilarious. It comes straight from the American Association of Motor Vehicles, which is commercial. Manufacturer certificate of origin, MCO, refers to the original ownership document for a vehicle. So this is from California, new vehicle with MSO registration requirements. When a new vehicle has never been registered or titled in any state or country, if you do an application for title or registration, you send the superior title, which is the manufacturer certificate of origin, properly endorsed, which means released, to the state. So you're exchanging the superior title, which is the MSO, for a stupid certificate of title. Now they call it, once a vehicle has been issued a state or jurisdiction title, the MSO is no longer available. They destroy it because now they own the vehicle. You just gave your vehicle to the state. The police is policing what is owned by the state. They're not policing anything that you own. So combining the power of the passport with the MCO or MSO, and then also having the private motor carrier DOT number, you're completely outside of commerce. No smog, no driver's licenses needed. Police can't do anything to you. Now, it doesn't stop the sheriff's office from doing something with you if you're causing accidents or harming people. That wouldn't be statutory. That would actually be found under common law. So you can still get in trouble for driving like a crazy man. It's just that you're not donating your car and everything else to the state. I have a lot of free information on my website. It's completely free if you want to learn more. I don't even want your money. Don't even try to give it to me.
If you've been getting scam texts like these, it was me. I said that probably means your data's been leaked. And I have a
get right into it. I don't want to wait. Okay, video number 29. We're going to get right into it. I don't want to waste any time. I want to start moving through these last handful of videos pretty rapidly. In the 14th Amendment, blacks were freed from slavery and only given civil rights. We've already gone over that. To this day, this has never changed, and this basic point is truly systemic racism. We've already gone over that. The people screaming about systemic racism know about this, but they divert your attention elsewhere rather than explain it to you. This is your Maxine Waters and your what's that one chick? She's the that white chick, Elizabeth Warren or some shit. Anyways, a lot of these California Congress people and state and senator people that are screaming about systemic racism and all this, they are probably state nationals, and they know exactly what I'm talking about here, and they do not want you to know about it. Okay. The people screaming about systemic racism know this point. They divert your attention elsewhere rather than explain it to you. The reason being is because the trust management organization makes money delivering services to us. They can only bill the American people for services rendered. This is exactly why they're bringing in all of the illegal aliens and why they're inviting all the illegal aliens into the country, the Democrat Party that's in the office right now. This is why they do that, because all of those illegal aliens can now be serviced, and they can now sell services to those people, and then that increases their income through the trust management organization. Okay, again, United States is a for-profit, private, incorporated company. So their entire purpose is maximum profits to shareholders. So if they can invite in and start busing in illegal aliens in order to service so that they can bill and make more money, that is literally just an income strategy proposition to them. Okay. Blacks have been subverted to be the greatest asset to the 14th Amendment trust management organization machine. The people screaming the loudest for BLM, Black Lives Matter, which is obviously like a Marxist, totally insane group. They're the same ones behind this entire scam. They want all blacks to be fully reliant on the government, as then they are all needing the services of the federal government, right? The exact steps for blacks to regain their human rights is for them all to become state nationals. They have more to gain from this process than any other race. It's the most glorious way to give the slave masters, who are very much still alive and busy, a big, fat, juicy middle finger, right? True racism is the secret degradation of an entire race and not assisting them in achieving their full rights because you are busy making money, servicing them with services that further degrade them. Again, it's not a matter of revenge. Revenge will destroy your soul. The solution is to regain your rights as a living son or daughter of the Most High. Civil rights are unacceptable as they place you below the level of even a U.S. citizen. I hope this is as disgusting to you as it is to me. So we've already gone over a lot of this. Again, just regain your human rights and learn to be a benevolent soul and have your trusty beneficiary relationship. And it doesn't matter what race you are. It will clean up all of this naturally. Okay. That's it for video number 29. I will see you at video 30.
I chose St. George's